We'll get this started. I'm Holly. I'm the head of marketing at Swishboom. This is our first ever webinar, so thank you everyone for being here. And I will let Kelly and Claire take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Holly. Can you hear me okay? Great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for coming. This is our first webinar. As Holly mentioned, I'm Kellee Mikuls. I am the founder and CEO of Swishboom. Swishboom is an Omaha startup that recruits and vets sitters so that when families post a job to our verified network, they typically get claimed in about 5 to 7 minutes. Since launching in 2020, we've done over 17,000 hours of babysitting and childcare in the Omaha Metro, and we now have the ability for employers to offer Swishboom as a benefit to meet your employees where they are, specifically your families that are struggling right now as there is a childcare crisis, which prompted us to reach out to the Wellbeing Partners. We are actually a partner of theirs now, to talk about childcare and families, specifically families, and how we can support them. So I'm so thankful that Claire has joined us today for 30 minutes to give us 3 strategies on how employers can support their family employees. Claire, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Can you, for those aren't familiar with Wellbeing Partners, can you tell them your elevator pitch of what it is, so that if it's something that makes sense for their company or that they know that it exists here in the Midwest, and the area?
Absolutely. So we are also based in Omaha. We do a lot of work with different Nebraska organizations and businesses. We essentially work with partners who share in that common goal of having happy, healthy people in all the places where we live, work, and play. So in my role as the child and family well-being coordinator, that looks like supporting schools or community organizations that care for children, and also supporting employers. So helping adults who care for children understand their developmental needs and how the choices that we make impact their mental health, and also how we can practice brain-based strategies with our children to help reduce parental stress. As an organization, we do lots of other work as well, around mental health, around physical well-being, really just helping to create environments where people can thrive and be their best.
That's awesome. Claire, can you, for those that are here in Omaha, can you maybe say some of your partners or some of the companies that you guys work with that have brought you in to benefit from kind of your knowledge base and your resources?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a growing list of partnerships, and that's fully available on our website. But I can see we've got Courtney online here from Streck. We just wrapped up a family wellness program with Streck. We work with Omaha Public Power District, Union Pacific, Blue Cross Blue Shield, CHI, Nebraska Medicine. You know, the list is quite lengthy, and we're excited for our many partnerships that we get to be a part of in the community.
Awesome. Well, and Swishboom's excited to be part of Wellbeing Partners. It seemed like a natural fit for us to just, as we are all here in Omaha specifically, trying to make lives of families better. I always tell people, I'm like, everyone says about Omaha, it's a great place to raise a family. And you've got some of these amazing startups and amazing nonprofits and companies that are trying to do just that. So jumping in, one of the things that we want with these webinars, we're diving into the HR community. We're going to be at the Nebraska HR conference coming up in a few weeks. So if you're in town and you're going to be at that, please stop by our booth. But we're really talking to a lot of HR leaders every day and executives. We wanted to give 3 nuggets of information that employers can walk away with after this call, that they can take back to their teams, or they can take back to their next brainstorming when people say, how do we support our employees? Where's our pain points? So before we jump into the 3 strategies, you and I were chatting before this call about what since COVID has happened, what's been kind of the biggest shift from what employers are feeling, where employers are feeling the pain, and families, where what are you seeing the most kind of on your side?
People are talking about families. And before we had the attitude of, you come to work, you do your work, you are an employee, and then you go home and you get to be a parent. But COVID really just kind of opened that rift, right? So now instead of having to keep everything separate, we can be our whole selves all the time. And a lot of times that means we're juggling lots of things simultaneously. So yes, we're working, but we're also parenting. And we had that period of time where that all happened, in the kitchen. We're working from home, we're parenting from home, and
Right.
everything is happening in real time. So that was hard, and it continues to be hard. However, it's created an opportunity for us to really take a look and see, okay, maybe we don't have to divide ourselves and be an employee and then be a parent. Maybe we can be our whole selves at work, and we can be our whole selves parenting. And that's created these conversations around, what is the employer or the organization's role in supporting these working parents, and what do they need, and how does that fit into our kind of employee support packages and our goals here as an organization. So we're really excited to hear different organizations having those conversations and talking about these things, and getting creative as they try to meet some of those needs in their employees.
Yeah, no, I see that more and more in our conversations. We have about 3 to 4 conversations a week with employers, and you're starting to see, them trying to tackle different problems as it relates to families, whether it's trying to get more people to come into the office and trying to find incentives to do that, or being more flexible on their remote work and allowing families to work from home and understanding that, things happen. And so, yeah, you're speaking my language here, especially as a mom of 3. Like, I get it. It is, I know you have a 5-year-old, so you get it too. You're like, this is real life here.
Real life.
Well, let's
Yeah.
jump in. Yeah, at least now we don't have to worry about your kids running behind you naked in like a Zoom call, right? Like a little bit less of that. So I'm happy those kind of dark days are a little bit behind us. But let's jump into 3 strategies. So we'll start with number 1, Claire. We kind of prompted this to you. What first came to mind if an employer is like, where do we even start? Like, how do we assess if we even have a problem?
Absolutely. So that's the first step, right? Assessment. So my first suggestion, always talk to your employees, find out what their needs are, and kind of see where needs might be overlapping with other people at your organization. And then we consider how your employee benefits and those support packages might be able to be adjusted to fit those current needs. Sometimes we do hear some pushback on this idea because supports for parents don't necessarily, benefit everyone. But if we think back to kind of the old school approaches around employee wellness programs, we can look at examples like, diabetes management programs or smoking cessation programs that also didn't necessarily benefit everyone, but have been very common in the corporate world historically. And that's because we care about our employees, right? And we want them to be happy and healthy and at their best. And in those ways, these kinds of programs truly do benefit everyone because we all benefit when everyone is working at their best. And thinking about supporting families is that same strategy. Stressed, overwhelmed parents need support to be healthy and to be at their best. And even more importantly, I would add, those kids will also reap the benefits of a supported parent. So that first step is really talking, figuring out, what are the needs, and then maybe making a little bit of a mind shift around the organization's role in supporting those working parents.
And for that number 1 strategy, do you suggest employers do this in the form of a survey, town hall? What do you guys usually suggest for them to collect that type of data without bringing in a huge cost? Because we know, hiring some consultant, there's a lot of pushback on budgets. But how do we get that information in real time to be able to make these type of kind of ideas of what's going on?
I don't think there's a blanket suggestion that's going to be right for every organization. I think a lot of it's going to depend on the size of the organization we're talking about. You know, a bigger organization might need to do a more formal survey, something quick and easy for their employees to fill out and indicate some needs. And that is something that we do help our partners with around surveying employees for, you know, wellness programming needs. But other organizations, it might just be informal conversations. You know, these kinds of things might be happening during annual reviews. You know, where are the gaps in your need for support here, and how can our organization be filling those gaps? Whether that's a formal conversation or an informal conversation, just being present with the team, you know, at lunch when the chit chat is happening, you know, taking advantage of those opportunities to kind of hear what the climate is, and then finding those gaps that you can fill.
Yeah, and I love the timing of this too, right now with school and summer, kind of we're in that between time to kind of do like a nice little check-in, because any parent knows that this is definitely the most stressful time to try and keep our kids occupied, or
we're in the home stretch.
Right, we're in the home stretch, but it's a nice reason to kind of reset and focus. So I love that. All right, so number 2 strategy. What's the second thing you've figured out? Maybe some of the feedback. Now what do you do?
Yeah, so once you recognize that need for family support programs and you have kind of matched those goals to what's being communicated by your employees, what their needs are, a great start is then to begin connecting employees to resources that are already available in the community. So kind of thinking about some different needs that you might be hearing. Are they having a hard time accessing high quality, affordable childcare? Well, the Nebraska Childcare Referral Network and Nebraska Cares for Kids can help parents find and identify quality care in their area. And there are similar programs happening in Iowa and in other states as well. Maybe your employees are feeling isolated in their parenting journey. It's a lot. They're having a lot of need for community. Then maybe you can create some peer support opportunities for employees to get together, to commiserate, to support one another. That's a really low cost option that can make a really big impact for overall well-being. You can also think about what other kinds of programs have already been developed in your community that your employees might not know about. They're sometimes just a matter of doing some research on what's out there and then providing those resources to your community.
So for your employer partners, is that something that the well-being would kind of be able to quarterback or be able to show them resources or kind of put together options? Is that how you guys work?
Yep, that is one of the things that we're happy to provide, kind of helping you parse out the options that are out there, share those resources. We also have a library of resources that we've been creating around different topics that then link out to more resources. Sometimes it's just difficult to do that legwork. So whenever we're able to help or another partner is able to help kind of have something created for you, that's a much easier thing to provide to employees that way.
No, that's great. Awesome. And then your third strategy that you think once you've done this, maybe you're putting some sort of, you know, wine Wednesdays for working moms. You can steal that, but something that gives some sort of community, maybe kind of hit some of those issues. What's the third and kind of final strategy that you think that is a good takeaway from today?
So at this point, I would really encourage employers to consider where they can step in and provide some additional support to those working parents. Some examples of additional support could be better access to childcare, either long-term childcare through on-site options or partnerships with other providers, as well as that childcare gap coverage that we're all experiencing in the summer, like partnering with Swishboom. That's a great resource in our community as well. Bigger policies like paid parental leave, always a hot topic, flexible work schedules or hybrid work options, babies at work policies. There are so many ways that employers can be supporting employees in this way. And of course, those decisions should be informed by what those employees are asking for. As I mentioned a little bit, one of our most popular employee support programs at the Wellbeing Partners is our Family Wellness Program. And that's where I get to come in and provide some parent education to help employees feel like they've got a better handle on parenting challenges, like behaviors, meal times, discipline, you know, that list is so long. And this is just an example of a valuable way that many of our partners are able to support their employees, and helping them feel like, okay, parenting is not on fire for me right now. I've got things under control. That feels okay. And now I'm able to really focus on work, able to focus on family, able to focus on whatever it is that's on my horizon.
No, that's awesome. And you and I were chatting before this call. I have a almost 13-year-old. So and I also have a 7-year-old. So it's like I'm at different stages of it, and it all feels still very stressful, even though I've have 3 kids, right? And so it's neat that you're able to kind of meet people where they're at and just give them that type of support. So I think that's great what you guys are doing. You and I were also chatting. I was telling you that in one of my recent employer meetings, an employer got creative and they're like, hey, we have this extra conference room that we don't use. What if we have Swish Boom and once a month we bring in 3 or 4 different sitters, and we're able to do kind of a respite day where it's 4 hours for a date night, a round of golf, cleaning out that attic that you've been like walking by and it's driving you mad, and what that would mean to your employees if it's once a month, and I think as a parent, it would mean a lot. And it's not a huge costly way for employers to show that they care, and I think that's kind of Claire, to your point, is that there's so many different creative strategies that you can do to try and just show people that they're not alone, that we see you, that we know it's hard, and we're just trying to make it a little easier, because there is not a magic wand. It's not, yes, it would be great if employers all paid for childcare and paid for all my meals and paid for my laundry to be done, and make my life, but it isn't realistic. So what can we do? And I think with Wellbeing Partners, it sounds like you guys kind of help put the perfect kind of prescription together for every company that has kind of different needs. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, and then the last question, since we have a few minutes, and then we'll open it up for some questions if anyone has questions. But the last question I have is, why do we care about this demographic? Why I have a lot of people I post on LinkedIn, and I kind of talk about the childcare crisis, or I talk about how parents are struggling. I know I'm in it. And some people will message me and say, like, yeah, I don't have kids and I'm not feeling it. Like, is this really an issue? But I guess to you, should employees care about this specific demographic of parent employees?
Absolutely. So this I could talk about all day. And some days I feel like I do talk about this all day, but I won't. I'll be brief today. So my number one, we should care about this demographic because, first of all, it's a large portion of our workforce. And also because this demographic is experiencing a disproportionate amount of stress. We've got fantastic local Omaha data that confirms this. I'm happy to point people to. We also have national data that says the same thing. It's not unique to Omaha. Parents are very stressed, and we don't want any demographic to be experiencing disproportionate stress. But number two, we should care about this demographic because they are the people raising our next generation. So, okay, maybe you don't have kids right now and you don't feel like this should be a big priority, but you do have a future. And it's like, those are the children who will be writing that future for us. And the choices that we're making with our children today are directly impacting the mental health climate of our future. So it just doesn't get more important than that. And that's why I truly feel like, anyone in the community has to care about the kids. And if you care about the kids, you have to care about people caring for the kids, raising the kids. It's the most important thing, I believe, for our community to consider.
That's great. No, I agree. I'm fully on board with that. At this time, if anybody has questions for myself or Claire, you're more than welcome to chime in. You just unmute yourself and ask a question, and we'll open it up right now.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Sorry,
Hi, Michelle.
my phone would ring as soon as I'll turn my video on. Okay, I got to remember we're on 2 different computers. So I'm in here with our parent group facilitator. So we have programming, and we're a small nonprofit at the Center for Holistic Development. And what we're really looking for is not so much for employers. I thought this was going to be more about families as well. So I wanted to see, like, would these supports cross over to families, particularly to try to find those type of respite services so we can assist our families in getting the education that they need as a part of our programming, and then helping us to find ways to connect them to the resources that they need. Because we always find that they're overwhelmed and it's challenging when they come to our services, which is mainly our intervention program. So it's a diversion program. So one of their youth is in trouble, they got sent to us, and then we're identifying other needs that they have.
Yes, you guys are doing really important work. So thanks for hopping on. I'll speak for the Wellbeing Partners, and our answer is yes, absolutely. We're happy to help connect directly with parents to resources. We do work with community organizations in addition to employer groups, and we have worked with Center for Holistic Development for some projects before. So we're always happy to continue chatting with you all and thinking about how we can support your families in that program.
Awesome.
Yeah, and something unique that we've been having conversations with for Swish Boom. I don't know, if childcare is one of the concerns that you guys have or trying to help your stakeholders solve. But we talked recently to the Stevens Center here in Omaha, and they too, for their employees, they want to offer Swish Boom at their center so that they could have a sitter come, and they have some surplus space within their center. So they're considering maybe retrofitting a space that they could have, maybe a kid wakes up sick and mom and dad have to come to work, or one of their employees has to come to work. They're considering maybe supporting their employee by having a Swish Boom sitter there watching them. Or for example, I think our team, Chelsea and Holly, are on this call, but I pulled Omaha Public Schools calendar yesterday, and there's 36 days off of school for the 2023-2024 school year. 36 days that parents have, that is a work day that parents are going to have to find childcare. And so how are organizations, nonprofits, employers, are you expecting your employees to take PTO? Are you expecting them to, how are you going to support them on that? So some employers that we're starting to have conversations on are offering Swish Boom a lower cost to get access to this network of sitters, and then they're underwriting or paying for the cost of those sitters at their facilities so that they can try and address, help more people at one time. So Michelle, that might be an idea of something that if you guys have a room or you have space that you could have some Swish Boom sitters there, you could help kind of overcome some of those specific challenges when it comes to childcare. And happy to chat with you about it. Well, Holly's going to send an email, I think, with our contact information, but we're happy to have those type of conversations.
Okay, we appreciate it. We can play around with some ideas that we have. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being on here.
You're welcome.
Any other questions at this time from anyone here? All right, if there's no questions, I just wanted to say thank you so much to Claire